when you think about it and tune into it, you can realize that your mind is always chanting something. If you think of your thoughts, man is mind and tarang is wave. So a mantra is quite literally means a wave of your mind. So in that sense, every thought that we have is a mantra. Every feeling that we have is a expression of a sound, of a mantra. Thoughts are like sounds. Every emotion and every desire are all kind of emanating from this. In fact, the yogis talk about it like this. They say there's 1,000 thoughts every wink of the eye, or 1,000 kind of micro vibrations every wink of the eye. You might catch one of them. All the rest of those thoughts are going into the subconscious mind. If a thought gathers enough energy, then it can become a feeling. Otherwise, that thought goes into the subconscious mind. But let's back up in a moment just to say 1,000 thoughts per wink of the eye. They talk about it in the sense of like the vibration. Give my mallets. That at the nucleus of this whole universe is a sound vibration. In the beginning was the Word. Thank you. As it says in as they putting in the book of John, is in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. I don't mean to bring up any religious traumas for anyone, but some people find that resonant. But the point being is that the same concept is all over the world, including in India and the yogic teachings, is that the entire actual substratum of creation is at first sound vibration. It's the most subtle of the 5 elements. Earth is the most dense of the 5 elements. Then comes water. Earth is solid, stable. Water is now still very material, but is now it flows. And then comes fire. And fire is that which transforms, but it's much more subtle than water. And then even more subtle, you have air element. That's which moves things, that which creates the movement of prana and the movement of your neurology and the movement of the water down the stream, say like in a river. So the force of gravity is under the domain of the air element. So air is more subtle than fire. And then finally you have what we call Akasha in Sanskrit, or ether, it's often translated in, which is the medium through which life travels. So space, ether is the medium. We can't see it. It's even more subtle. Air we also can't see, but you can see the effects of air. It's like when the trees are blowing from the wind. But ether is even more subtle, but we hear. So the sound is related to the ether element. It's the most subtle of all of elements. So this entire substratum of our nature, of our being, is sound, vibration. Air is related to tactile perception. So the 5 senses. Sound is related to Akasha, ether. Air is touch, physical, the sensation of physical touch. Or tactile perception, say the wind blows against your skin and you can feel. That's air element. Fire is like photons, light, vision, sight, the ability to see. That's both just ordinarily the ability to see, but also the ability to see the trajectory of your life is also related to fire element. Fire is related to passion, or when there's not enough fire, it's like anemic. And then becomes water element, which takes saliva in your mouth. Taste is the water element. And then finally, it's earth is related to fragrance, smell. The most earthy sensation. the most dense of the sensations, fragrance, smell. You know how fragrance can be very nostalgic too. If you smell something from your childhood, it'll bring you back to a different time you've had on this earth. So these are the 5 tattvas, or what they call the Panchamahabhuta, the 5 great elements. Don't worry about remembering all this. It's just painting a picture so that we understand the depth and a disposition of how to use the tools, the techniques. So the 5 great elements are what make up all things. Our bodies, our mind, and everything in nature, you can say just very simply, are made up of earth, water, fire, air, and space. And all of yoga and Ayurveda is based on this foundation. And and so, therefore, it tells us and it shows us that when we're working with sound, we're working with the most subtle facet of ourselves, at least from the context of our 5 elements. And therefore, it allows us to tap into the more subtle facets of our psyche, which is what allows us to increase more of our intuition and more of our awareness. It's the subtle parts of us that are non-changing. The dense part of us are changing all the time. We can see it before our eyes. You look in the mirror and you see you're getting a little older. The subtle parts of us are not changing so much. And so the more that we are kind of attuned by having experience of our more subtle nature, the less fear we have of our demise, of one day dying, because that's coming. Why is that? Because the more that we can have real intimacy with the parts of us that don't die, that are subtle in nature, the more happy we become. The less fear that we have, the more self-confident we become. Because the most powerful parts of us are actually our most subtle qualities. And so by the use of mantra, it helps to purify the psyche and the density of the psyche, so that our brightness can come through. So back to where we were, the yogis say that the nucleus of this thing is like the impulse. It's like the Big Bang. In the beginning was the word. In the Indian context, or the what's called the Sankhya context of yoga, there's the male force and the female force, which come into a union. The male force is called Purush, and the feminine force is called Prakriti. Purush is that which dwells in the center of the being. Prakriti is she who wishes to become many. And these two, the Shiva and the Shakti, is what they become called later in Tantra, are unite, thus creating a profound yet subtle sound vibration. From that sound vibration, all of creation comes into being. It might sound a little esoteric, but it's a helpful way of getting inside of the art and the science of mantra, sound medicine.
Hey, thanks for watching on YouTube. Best easy way to stay in touch with us. Hit the subscribe button here. You'll see our videos when they come up. If you enjoyed this one, hit the like button. It'll help more people see it, help the channel grow. I appreciate you watching.